Hey there, volunteers. I am so thankful for you, and I just want to make sure that you know that. Thank you so much for volunteering in kids' ministry and for loving the children of our church so well. In this video, I want to go over some training material that'll help you be able to flourish in Hayes Hills Kids. We have a child protection policy as a church that serves as our guidelines, policies, and procedures for safety when it comes to kids ministry. The policy is designed to keep kids safe while they're in our care, and it's also designed to serve you as the adult leaders. You will be able to read the policy and then know what is good to go and not good to go. It also helps you because if anyone were to ever come and want to lodge an accusation, someone got mad or something like that, and wanted to lodge an accusation against you, by having these policies and asking you to follow them, we can clearly say, hey, our volunteers are awesome. Here's what they've done. Here's what they have not done. And here's why the accusation you're trying to make against them just can't stick. So the policy is awesome. We're very thankful for it. And it keeps our kids safe and healthy. It also allows you to be able to flourish and serve in kids ministry. Now, you can get a copy of the entire protection policy in its full detail on the website. Go to the elementary or preschool page, and there's a link where you can download it in PDF form. But there are something called the 10 Commandments of Hayes Hills Kids. You'll notice them posted in every room where we do kids things. There's a big banner in the kids worship room and a big banner in Building C that have all of these listed. And the 10 Commandments of Hayes Hills Kids are my way of summarizing that entire document. It's 30 pages long, not necessarily the most fun reading. And so these 10 Commandments are a sentence long and very good summary of everything you need to know. I want to quickly walk through them and through a couple other points so that you can be familiar with the most important information from the child protection policy. So the first commandment is that we always abide by the vision and values of Hayes Hills Kids. There is another video, hopefully you've been able to watch by now, where I walk through the vision and values of Hayes Hills Kids in detail. So I won't do that here, but I will quickly restate our vision, which is to get the scriptures into the heads, hands, and hearts of our kids. And we do that by carrying out the 5 values. And so you can watch the video to see the full detail there, but everything we do, including having this child protection policy, is for the goal of getting the scriptures into the heads, hands, and hearts of our kids. The second commandment is this: volunteers must go through the application process before they can serve. So before you can be a Hayes Hills Kids volunteer who has access to kids, we need you to go through the application process. And most of you watching this video have probably already gone through that, but if you're watching because you're interested in serving with Hayes Hills Kids and you want to know a little bit more about it, I'll quickly walk you through it, although you can find full detail on our website under the Become a Volunteer tab. The process is there's an application I have you fill out. I want to have an opportunity to sit down and meet with you, chat with you, get to know you, see where your gifts are and how you might best fit in kids ministry. And we have you go through a background check and child sexual abuse awareness training so that you can be familiar with best practice of kids care. And then from there, we go ahead and get you serving. And we do ask that everybody has been at Hayes Hills for at least 6 months and is a member before you serve with kids. And we find it really important and valuable to let new members and new people get used to our church, see where they might want to serve, how God might use their gifts. And it allows us to get to know potential volunteers a little bit before we just immediately allow them to be around kids. No child can enter or exit Hayes Hills Kids without a security tag. That's commandment number 3. And the security tags are, I'm sure, something you're familiar with. You've either seen them on kids in your classes or printed them out for your own children. They're the little pieces of sticker that print off from the iPads, and they have a child's name and a security number. And the most obvious use for the security tag is that it allows us to ensure that when children are dropped off and picked up, they are dropped off by their parents and picked up by their parents or another approved adult. We don't want the kids and adults to be mismatched. That would obviously be a problem. Something else that the security tags do for us that are really helpful is they give information that is important for caring for the kids. The parent's cell phone number is on that tag, so if there's any need you have to reach out to a parent, you can send them a text or a call. There's also allergy information listed on those tags for any children who do have allergies. Not all kids do, but it's important for us to know if a kid does have an allergy, and you can see that listed on the tag. So those are the main reasons why those tags are super important. And if you see a kid like pulling his tag off and wadding it up or sticking it in his hair or something like that, go ahead and have them just maybe fold it up and put it in their pocket. We want to make sure that that tag doesn't get destroyed because of the important information that's on it. The fourth commandment is that volunteers are never allowed to be alone with a child. This is important because when shady people want to do shady things, they try to do it when no one else can see. Now, I know that all of y'all are awesome people, and I don't think any of you are shady. A lot of the rules that we have as a part of the child protection policy are actually a fence that provide a great boundary to keep shady people away from our kids. And this rule acts as one of those very clear boundaries. Anybody who might want to be shady would try to get a child alone, and then shady things would more easily occur. And by never allowing volunteers and children to be alone together, we ensure that shadiness can't happen. And like I said, I know you won't be shady, but it does put up a boundary. So if anyone was thinking about being shady, they could see this rule and say, ooh, I don't think I want to go there. It also allows us as volunteers to be able to have our antenna up. If we ever see someone alone with a child, it should trigger a red warning flag in us. And there's an important note here. For instance, if you're teaching a Bible Live class, there's normally 2 teachers in that room. What if one of you has to step out of the room for a second and, say, help a child get a drink from the water fountain? Does that mean that all of a sudden you're in violation of the 4th commandment if you're the teacher who has stayed in the room? And you aren't. In our Bible Life classrooms, there are multiple adults, a security team member, lots of children all around. And there's a lot of accountability still there. We do ask that if there aren't 2 adults in the room, in our example where one teacher steps out to help the child get a drink of water, you leave the door to your classroom wide open so that there's plenty of visibility. What we want to avoid is a situation where there's one adult and one child in a room alone and no one else is around to see or witness things. And so that's what we really want to avoid. Our 5th commandment is to use appropriate physical touch. Physical touch is an important developmental point of human connection and a very valuable thing when used appropriately. And so we want to have appropriate physical touch. Now, at the time I'm filming this, we're still dealing with the COVID-19, figuring out how to respond. We're in January of 2021, and social distancing is still going on. So right now, we're all staying 6 feet away from one another, and appropriate physical touch is things like an air high five, maybe an elbow bump, thumbs up, extra smiles, those kinds of things. We are all hoping and praying that we can respond well to COVID-19, that we can get it under control, and that life can go back to, well, normal. And when that happens, and we're allowed to be closer than 6 feet to people again, appropriate physical touch includes things like a full contact high five, like that, a handshake, a side hug, those sorts of things. The goal with appropriate physical touch is that we want to provide human connection, but we want to do it in a way that allows us to respect a child's personal space and physical boundaries. We never want to give physical touch to a child if they say no. If a child prefers not to have a side hug, not to have a high five, not to have a handshake, then we need to respect them and not do it. But appropriate physical touch definitely can be a high five, that sort of a thing. One question I get regularly that is important, what happens if you're teaching a class and a little kid runs up to you and just like wraps their arms around your leg and gives you a hug? You're not in violation. of the fifth commandment, if that happens, you don't have to like grab the kid and throw them away from you. That's okay. I understand that sometimes kids, especially little kids, are going to do something like that. What we want to do is make sure that as adults, we're very aware of and respectful of physical space, personal boundaries, and that we're not violating those things. And if we were to return a hug, we would want to go ahead and use a side hug. The sixth commandment is this: if a child acts out, handle it the right way, right away. Handle it the right way, right away. We use the 3-count system to do that. Now, what is the right way? We all get right away means immediately, but what is the right way? And for us here at Hayes Hills, we use the 3-count system. The 3-count system is giving kids 3 warnings. And then if a situation escalates, passing the discipline issue off to me. We as a church understand that parents are the ones who are primarily responsible for discipling their children and also the primary discipliners of their children. And so we also understand that inside of that, different parents have different philosophies on methods of discipline, how they do that, whether or not they use timeout or spanking or grounding. We understand that there are different things that parents have different opinions on. We want to respect that. And so at Hayes Hills, we use this 3-count system. And what it is that we give 3 warnings to kids. So if a child is talking when they shouldn't be talking, they should be listening to you teach the class, then we would say, hey, walk up to that child and say, hey, Johnny, I know that you're really excited about your new pet turtle, but right now, Mr. Ethan is teaching, and so this is your first warning. I need you to be kind and listen. Then if Johnny continues to talk, hey, Johnny, this is your second warning. If I have to give you a third one, then we're going to need to call your mom or dad down here. Mr. Ethan is teaching the lesson. You need to quit talking and being distracting. And then, of course, if it happens a third time, then what you'll do is, hey, Johnny, I've had to give you 2 warnings. This is your third warning. What we're going to have to do is call your mom and dad, get mom and dad in, and once mom and dad come, then I will talk to mom and dad. So while mom and dad are coming, I'll also have you get me, and I will have you inform me on the situation, and then I will talk to mom and dad. Now, we have not had to go to a number 3 very often for kids. In fact, I've only had it happen about 3 times, and 2 of them were for fist fights. One was for biting, so not a situation that we go to very often. And I'm very thankful for that, very thankful that our kids are well behaved. But if we do have to go to a 3, I'll talk to the parents. The child will need to be removed from class or the event immediately, and then we will ask them to take a 1-week break from whatever event they were being disruptive in. So for instance, if they were causing tons of problems in Bible Life, we'll ask them to take a 1-week break from Bible Life. They'll be welcome to come to Wednesday night or some other church activity, but 1-week break from Bible Life. We don't want to kick kids out permanently. We want them to be a part of our church, but we also understand that while we're responsible to each individual child, we're responsible to all kids, and we need to balance that well. And so that's why we have them take a break. One thing that I want to encourage us all to look at is to look beyond behavior and at the heart of a child. Sometimes kids are willfully defiant. They just want to disobey. And that is the time where we're going to need to use this 3-count system. Sometimes a kid is talking and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, teacher. I didn't mean to be talking." Other times, if you have a kid whose pattern of behavior is normally to, say, be very well behaved, and then all of a sudden they have one day that is really rough. You and I have hard days too. We want to show grace. Look at the situation. Maybe a child who's normally well behaved is really struggling one day, and it's because their parent who serves in the military just got deployed and they missed their mom or dad. And so there's some reasons behind the behavior. Kids use behavior to express their emotions, and we want to just be aware of that, looking beyond the behavior at the heart of the child. Obviously, willful disruptiveness is something we need to address. We also are a people who have been saved by grace and shown grace by our Savior, and we want to, in turn, show grace to our kids. The seventh commandment is all children and volunteers must follow the well-child policy. The well-child policy is posted in every classroom, so I won't go over it in detail here. But I love y'all. However, if you're sick, please stay home. If your kids are sick, please have your kids stay home. And if a child comes to class and they are sick, we want that child to not come to class. I don't want you to get germs. I don't want other kids to get germs. We want to be really careful. So some of the things that are on that well-child policy are things like a high fever, very grossly colored mucus discharge, things like that that are very clear symptoms of a child not being well. If you have a child that you think is sick, contact me and I will talk to their parents. As much as is possible, I want y'all to be able to enjoy your volunteering experience. And if there's a difficult conversation, whether it's about discipline, asking a child to not come to class because they're sick, any of those things, I want to be able to handle that conversation for you so that if a parent needs to be frustrated or they're going to be upset, then I can handle that wrath. I don't want you to have to deal with it if we can avoid that. But we'll ask everyone to follow the well-child policy. And if you're sick, I have subs so that you can focus on getting healthy. Number 8 is that Hayseal's kids can only use Band-Aids and ice packs for injuries, and we will notify parents when and if an injury occurs. So if a kid is running around and trips and hurts themselves, in terms of injuries, based off of 2 things. One, for the most part, most of us aren't trained medical professionals. Some of us are, but for the most part, we're not, and so we don't want to think we're helping and then actually treat an injury in a way that was unhelpful. But 2, in terms of our insurance as a church, what we are and aren't allowed to do, we need to be very careful about how we respond to injuries, and we want to call on-duty medical professionals to handle most of these situations if they get super severe. So what we do as a church is that we're allowed to respond with a Band-Aid or an ice pack. So if a child hurts themselves in a way that a Band-Aid or an ice pack can solve the problem, we can take care of it. Please go ahead and contact their parents if they do have that problem occur. And I also have injury reports. You can find those in the supply closet in Building C. And I have copies in my office in Building A if we're ever in there. That injury report is something that we keep on hand for a calendar year for our insurance so that if anybody ever has any questions about an injury that occurred, we can be clear on what happened. There's one exception to this policy that's worth noting. Some children have allergies, whether it be peanuts, something like allergies to bee stings. Some allergic reactions require an immediate EpiPen or an immediate dose of Benadryl, and there's not time for a parent to come or a medical professional to come. Like, you need to give the EpiPen immediately in some situations. And so I have a waiver that parents can fill out and sign and get to me that allows us to administer an EpiPen or a Benadryl or something like that according to their instructions. And that waiver frees us of any liability should something go crazy, but does allow us to then also respond to a situation by, say, administering an EpiPen. If you have a child in your class who has an allergy and their parent has signed the waiver, I'll fill you in on that. But for the most part, just know that if a kid gets injured, ice packs, Band-Aids, that's what we want to focus on. Number 9 is that because of food allergies, we can only give out approved snacks. So you can go to the child protection policy to see in detail what those snacks look like. The deal is, for the most part, that you won't have to worry about snacks. I'll be handling that. During Wednesday night programs, I'll handle snacks. On Sunday mornings, I have approved snacks for the pre-K wing. And during Bible Life, you don't have to give a snack out. I give kids snacks in kids worship, so they're getting a snack there. If you do want to give kids something like, say, a hard candy for answering a question correctly, you can. You just need to talk to me first to make sure that whatever you are handing out is approved. But for the most part, you don't need to worry about snacks. I've got that covered for you. And number 10 is be prepared to follow our safety plan in the case of an emergency. In every classroom, there's a safety plan posted on the cabinets, and they walk you through what to do if there's a fire, or someone comes to the church with the intent to cause harm, or some other kind of natural disaster, or a building issue. Those things are there. We have members of our security team who are always with us and can help us respond to things appropriately. So there are the 10 commandments for Hayes Hill's kids, and a quick summary of the child protection policy. I have just a few odds and ends details that I want to cover real quick with you as well. Like I said, you can find the full policy on the elementary and preschool page of our website. If your friends are interested in serving, direct them to the Become a Volunteer tab on the website. We'd love to get them serving. Just a reminder that the background checks and sexual abuse awareness trainings are something that we have everybody renew every 2 years. So if you serve with us for a long time, and I hope and pray you will, we do have you renew your background checks and child sexual abuse awareness trainings every 2 years so that we can keep current on those things. Looking here to make sure I've got it all covered. Well, child policy, 10 commandments of Hayes Hill's kids. Those kinds of things are posted in each classroom. And that's that. So if you have any questions, anything that you listen to that you're not sure about or want more explanation on, feel free to give me an email, text me, call me, whatever works. I'd be happy to help you. Thank you for watching this video, and I'm once again so thankful and so appreciative of all you do to keep our kids safe. I will see you the next time we have Hayes Hill's Kids.